Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Israeli Ministry of Tourism webinar, Crisis Management, Technology and Future Trends. I'm very happy to have with me here our director in the UK, Sharon, Itai Green and Eran Ketter that soon will share with you their vision. It's funny because usually the most intimate place in your home is the bedroom, and right now, despite the quarantine, we are speaking from the bedrooms constantly. So it's kind of an ironic issue. For the ones who don't know me, my name is Hana, and I am our director in Canada. And this webinar is actually a joint initiative of all of our offices abroad. So we have here participants from the US, from Canada, from UK, Israel, and from many other countries. And it's only one out of many creative activities that we are trying to do right now in order to keep the engagement with you, with the industry, and to keep providing some value to you despite the challenge that we are facing. Israel was, is, and always will be probably the best destination there is for everyone. So we are looking forward to welcome you later. As I mentioned, we are thrilled to have here with us Eran Ketter and Itai Green that will share with us their predictions about the post-corona world, how technology can and will shape the industry after the corona, and how you can benefit from those together. Crises come and go, and management are the things that make the difference. Warren Buffett once said that predicting rain doesn't help, building ark does. And it reminds me of a story which I learned in my previous studies about two brothers in the 60s who wanted to open a pizza place. And they went and they had a great recipe. They had a brilliant business model, but in every place that they went, Pizza Hut was already established, and in every cornerstone, there was a Pizza Hut restaurant. So they couldn't find a place to go, and they couldn't find a city center to sell their products. And they were pretty despair, and they need to make a decision whether they are going off the competition or they are starting something new. And they understood that in the manner of location, they will always lose to Pizza Hut, so they need to come with something else. So they took the location out of the equation. They invented deliveries. They bring in the pizza to your place, to your home, to your perfect place to eat. And then Pizza Hut main strength was irrelevant anymore. So like Domino's, we all can focus and utilize this time to take a step back, to look at the big picture, to think how we can utilize this time to better ourselves, to improve our business, and to reflect on the things that we took for granted for so many years. And it's an opportunity to reevaluate all of our things that we are doing in the day-to-day. So without further ado, I'm more than happy to invite Eran Ketter to share with us his thoughts about the future. Eran, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Gal, and thank you for this kind invitation to share how the world might look like in the day post-COVID-19. But before we go into tomorrow, let's have a quick look at today and try to examine with a tourism eye what are the main things we're seeing today. And we're talking about a global crisis, which is both an economic crisis and a health crisis and a tourism crisis. And these crises have a major effects on both supply and demand in tourism. If we're talking about supply, so first of all, we're talking about the aviation industry, that's been very, very badly hit. There are over 60 airlines that completely 100% grounded their activities. I think one of the reasons airlines to join is EasyJet, one of the leading low-cost carriers in Europe. And it is estimated that over 90% of regular scheduled passenger flights have been rescheduled or completely off the schedule, resulting from the situation. Secondly, is the hospitality sector. According to recent data by STR, So in the accommodation, in hospitality, now in the United States, bookings are about, or bookings are now 60% down. In UK, booking are about 70% down, and in Italy, booking are 96% down. In Italy, about 96% of hotels have closed their gates. This, of course, is a temporary situation, and we look forward for this to change in the coming weeks. That's on the supply side. And on the demand side, we see two major changes. One of them has to do with the global economy. The IMF recently announced that it's seeing a global, or it recognized that the world is entering a global recession, and that's definitely going to affect spending on tourism. We definitely hope to see a V-shaped recovery. That recovery would be within 2020 by second quarter, by the third quarter, or the latest by the fourth quarter. By the way, according to IATA prediction, to the International Aviation Transportation Association, they are predicting that in the fourth quarter, in the last quarter of 2020, global aviation gonna be down only by 10%, comparing to the last quarter of 2019. So they're being quite optimistic regarding recovery. And that's, of course, an economic thing. And the second thing has to do with consumers' confidence. Will people be willing to go on a cruise ship or enter an airplane where they cannot practice social distancing in the near future? And that's definitely a question. But we see how this confidence somehow remains as people still make future bookings on a much lower extent, but we still future bookings for Christmas of next year, Christmas in December 2020. So people are still eager to travel. And we also need to remember that not all consumers respond similarly to crises or to hazards. And as people are younger in age, people who are male, who are more educated and have more travel experience, so these audience are willing to travel more and to take the risk. So that's all, and that also would be one of the first audience as regarding demographics who would go back to traveling. So these are some of the major things we're seeing today. But our real question is not regarding today, because we all read about what's happening today. It's about how the world of tourism would look like tomorrow. And although Israel is a very magical country, we don't have here any magic balls that show us how the future is going to look like. But these are a type of very simple prediction that's based on what we've seen in past crises or what we're seeing in other parts of the world, that from it we can come to some out of conclusion regarding the world as of tomorrow. Let's start from these pictures from Israel, but let's start from China. In China, the quarantine has removed. China is still pretty much sealed regarding the international borders. If you want to go into China, you still have to go through medical checkups and a certain amount of time to spend a certain amount of time in quarantine. But in China, 87% of hotels are back to operation, still in relatively low occupancy, but they're open. Over 1,000 tourism attractions are now open and available. And we see how the domestic tourism grows. So after people spend a few weeks in quarantine, they're looking forward to go outside, to breathe fresh air, to enjoy the sun, to enjoy the summer in the Northern Hemisphere. And we expect that this would be the first segment to grow both in Israel and also in other markets. So slowly, more and more countries will get over the COVID-19 crisis, and they manage to isolate the people who are infected, and then you see the quarantine being removed, and slowly domestic tourism will go back, and then also outbound travel and inbound travel. We need to also remember that in China, and that also might be the case for other destinations, travel is still with some restrictions. So people are asked not to gather in large groups. People are asked to use face masks. Their body temperature is being checked when they are entering hotels or tourism sites. So if you're listening to this webinar and you're managing a tourism site, tourism attraction, hotel, so you would be required probably in the next coming months to reopen your site under certain restrictions. We should already start to think about these restrictions and how to manage tourism under these conditions. Okay, so that's being first. Secondly, and that's maybe a very good news for Israel or to people who deal with tourism development in Israel, not all products and motivation gonna bounce back on the same rate. And we've seen from past crises that visitor motivation that are more solid, which are mainly three, which is business travel, VFR, visit friends and relatives, which is a huge market in Israel, and pilgrimage tourism, religious tourism, are three top motivation in post-crisis time. In this time, people tend to have less affinity to travel, and they are being more concerned regarding the decision-making of that, except for the three audience people in the business sector. They are obliged to go by their work. They also tend to be very frequent travelers, so they feel very comfortable with all kinds of situation. That's first. Secondly, the VFR market, it's a huge market for Israel, and we've seen it also in the past. In 2003, following the second Palestinian uprising crisis, we have seen that VFR tourism has grown to be 42% of inbound travel to Israel, and there are many Israelis or people who have family in Israel living both in the United States and Canada and also in the UK for UK participants. So we're definitely going to see this audience bouncing back very, very fast. And lastly, we've seen that in this time of crisis, people reconnect with their religious feelings, and following that, they want to go and visit the holy places, either for Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, that can be found in Israel. And they go, and this picture, in case you haven't been yet, was taken in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Number three, the global tourism map, as we know it these days, is going to change. If we were looking at ranking of top source market and top tourism destination in the last 5 years or so, we more or less saw the same destinations who were leading both lists. And the top tourism destinations in the world, the most popular ones, are France and Spain and the US and China and Italy. And of course, these top five not going to look the same in the year 2020. Okay, and we're going to see new destinations. Hopefully, Israel would be one of the destinations that, resulting from the very strict quarantine measure that we're taking, or health measures that we're taking, would be a country that would recover from the COVID-19 crisis very fast, and will raise the potential it has to become a stronger player in international markets. So that's regarding destination countries, and also regarding source audiences, where China is a huge market, and we see all kinds of changes happening there, with borders still not being opened up. The US is now entering, the US, the UK, Germany, which all are very big source market, and now making more initial steps into the world of quarantine and COVID-19, and we'll have to closely follow how both health issues and economic issues in these countries play out to determine which role they would play in the tourism arena of the post-COVID-19 tourism. we do need to remember that destinations that will have shorter quarantine will be less affected economically, so they also are expected to rebound faster into the world of tourism. And it's time to diversify your strategy as a tourism business or as an operator or as a tour agent to work with both source audiences and with more destination regions in order to be able to absorb this type of change of reshuffle the deck of cards in the world of tourism that we were used to see in a very certain way for many, many years. One of the things we're seeing these days is that when people are on quarantine, they spend significantly much time online. The Facebook group, which includes Facebook and WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and Instagram, of course, are reporting on a huge increase in the amount of traffic they are seeing on their apps. With having that, okay, so there is more interest, and on the other side, we see that the amount of advertisers is going down. So tourism businesses finally, after very, very long years, enjoying a growth in their organic exposure. So as people are spending more time digital, it's an opportunity for us to enhance our digital exposure and to drive more people, such as the way Barcelona is doing in this slide, taking from their Instagram account, drive more people to join into our funnel and to show interest in our destination. We also have to remember that while in Europe we have the data that in 2019 still half of the travel purchases were done offline, okay, it was half and half in 2019, as now people are stuck at home and are pretty much obliged to conduct all their shopping and all their consumption to be done via the online. So we expect to see increase in digital activity among different consumer segments, even consumer segments that were less digital in the past. So if you're not yet fully operational on digital or not working well enough on mobile mode, so that's the COVID-19 is actually an opportunity to step back, rebuild your digital infrastructure, and be ready for the day after, which is definitely going to be more digital than the day before. Our fifth and last prediction / conclusion for the day after has to do with the aviation industry. According to a recent IATA report, most airlines have a cash flow that will help them to last only for 2 months. While we see more and more countries, including Israel and the United States and other countries, that invest in protecting their legacy airlines against a stage of collapse, we're not sure that all airlines going to survive and going to be with us on the post-corona travel day, specifically low-cost carriers who tend to work in an environment that have more risks, are more prone to going bankrupt. And that might again change the world tourism behavior. And we can look at the case of Iceland. In the year 2017, Iceland enjoyed 24% of tourism growth, and in 2018, there are low-cost carriers. Wow, went bankrupt, and in 2019, we saw how it changed from going 24% up to going 14% down, a huge shift in the trend of tourism resulting from the change in airline connectivity. So we have to watch out very closely on change in aviation as it was changed connectivity and the map of destination. And also we have to remember that when governments are bailing out airlines or aviation companies, they are not spending money, but they're actually investing money in future tourism, investing money in the recovery, not only of tourism, but also of regular life, of commerce and other fields of the community. So these are my top 5 conclusions for the day, the post-Corona day. I'll be very happy to get any questions in case you have one. Sharon and Gal.
This is the time to look at the chat that we have. I'm not sure if that's completely a question for Eran. Anyone that wrote the question, is it directed to Eran? You can write again on the chat, Tony and Anthony. One second. One of the questions I'll try tour operator that have a group in October was wondering if we think the situation will end by then. Can give you
well, I think for that you need someone that has his doctorate in epidemiology and not in tourism. But I write that October is the beginning of Q4, and again, IATA predicts that the level of disturbance by Q4 would be around 10%. So 90% of tourism would hopefully go back to regular by Q4. There's some point that this seems optimistic, but I want to join this. I want to join this optimism and hope that at least Israel would be. I think Israel would be done with the COVID-19 hopefully by Q3, which is way before Q4.
Okay, so there's for another question. Is some that Stephanie I think asked. Someone is asking about the airplanes itself. Do you think we'll see different in the seating? Will the seating will be changed? People will sit not so close to one another. Maybe you talked about the low cost. Maybe the whole seating will look differently later on.
Based on the economic model of airlines, especially on low cost airlines, it's practically impossible to change the seating unless everyone would sit on his, have plastic cover on top of him. But we're going to see a situation that's very close to what we're seeing currently in domestic flights in China. And that is that from the moment you're entering the airport till the moment you're being checked on the plane, your temperature, your body temperature is being checked for several times, 5 or 6 times. And we're going to see all kinds of these health measures being taken to make sure that everyone who are getting on the plane are 100% healthy. And also, we can assume that the first people to board planes would be the healthy and fit and millennials and Gen Z, while older generations such as Gen X and baby boomers would be more hesitating, will take more time for them to take the risk and board a flight.
I think Anna wanted to mention that you can physically remove seats from an airplane, but I think more or less what you said can summarize it, that maybe less people can actually be on the flight, so it will change the capacity of people that on the actual flight, it will look different.
We're very familiar with this option. However, I'm not sure this option is viable economically for the airlines. When you remove seats, you're dramatically changing the cost structure of the flight, and then the flight would cost double or so, and then less and less people would be available to fly. But we might see maybe some premium flights that offer to practice social distancing in the air, and then the price would be, you'll be flying economy with the price of first class.
We had two comments. I've just mentioned them. One is that Puerto Rico is already moving into this direction of checking everyone's temperature. And the other one was maybe we'll see a stronger demand for business because in the business section you can be less, less crowded. Maybe it will cause an increase in charges, premium charters, something new that we might witness. Eran, if you have any comments more about aviation, I think it's a strong topic in the chat.
I would just make a point that.
Another comment, sorry.
I'm sorry.
And private jets also, someone comment.
Yeah, we see. By the way, already we see an increase in private jets already. If you look up in the sky when you're using a software that analyze the amount of flight and which people are flying and which airlines. Definitely, we're going to see changes in the whole aviation/airline market because it's a market that's so prone to changes, and it's really based, like the economic structure of airlines are based on a very positive cash flow, on high cash flow, very low marginality. You buy the ticket today, you only use it 3 months from today, and it's based on this cash flow. And once this cash flow stops, once people stop purchasing air tickets, so all the system go into this huge turbulence that we're still not sure how the system, aviation/airlines world gonna look like in the day after.
We have Yael asking about what focus. We have here also agents from Israel and from America and Canada and the UK, but from the Israeli side, people are asking what market should people focus on?
You're asking about outbound travel or inbound travel
to
from Israel?
Yeah.
Again, I'm sorry?
Inbound to Israel.
Inbound to Israel. So as we mentioned earlier, the market that are expected to be the most, the motivations or the product that's going to be the most resilient are those that had to do with pilgrimage, business travel, and VFR, visit friends and relatives. Regarding the source market, the countries, it might be too soon to tell because we need to see how the key markets that at the moment may lead the list for inbound travel to Israel, US and France and UK and Russia, and others, how they would look in the post-corona era.
So do you believe China will be one of the first ones to come back? If they are the first one that going out of the situation, maybe they will be the first one to come back to Israel or in general?
It's not only China, it's also other destinations in Asia, such as Singapore and others, who started the quarantine on a very early stage and already passed that stage. You're making a very valid assumption regarding the scenario. We still need to hope that there would be no a second wave of COVID-19 in China, and they are still taking the time, maybe for a good reason, and I suspect it might take a significant amount of days before they're going to fully going to reopen their borders for international travel, and also before Israel will reopen its border for inbound travel. A matter of weeks, probably.
Maybe one last more general question before we finish with Eran. What do you recommend for OTAs, travel agents, tour operators, other travel vendors? What should be their primary focus next? Now preparing like day after plan and actually during the day after, the first few weeks. Okay.
Maybe I'll divide into two. First of all, for today and then for tomorrow. So for today, we definitely gonna want to invest in B2B, business to business relationship marketing in order to enhance the relations we have with people either up the supply chain, our supplier, or down the supply chain, our distributors. So we want to enhance this relation and enhance the commitment and enhance the cooperation so we can all work together. On the day after, that's on the B2B level. On the B2C level, you have mentioned Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico and Barcelona and the UK and other destinations, and Israel as well, are doing a lot of social media and digital marketing for today to keep driving people into the funnel, and as people enter the funnel, to engage them, to keep with the destination, to keep them in the funnel, to make sure not to lose them. And once we see that tourism starts to open, so the funnel would start to open down from its bottom part, we have to start to develop, or we already need to develop, but we also we will have to start to promote, to sponsor the right products to help people to become consumers, to activate the people in the funnel and make them into our tourists. And that includes products that have flexible cancellation policy, flexible scheduling policy, reduced prices, and also products that highlight issues that has to do with hygiene, with safety, with ensuring people that travel is safe again. So these are some of the main things that can be done. And maybe also one more thing is, as mentioned earlier, focusing on digital marketing and digital platform. As we see, more and more traffic is going to be done online.
If anyone else has a question, this is the time to write us on the chat, because we do not know how to do it otherwise at the moment. Unless, Noam, can you, God, you said someone raising her hand?
Yeah, we have Ilanit Semach who raised her hand. I don't know how to let her speak, but
Noam,
but if she can write the question, it would be.
Ilanit doesn't have audio.
Okay. So I suggest that maybe we will start with Itai, and then we'll go back to questions for us as the Ministry of Tourism, and maybe for Itai as well.
Just one more thing for Eran, because I see another question from Ofer. Besides Facebook and Instagram, what other method of promoting ourselves do you suggest? Being where we, stuck at home.
Yeah. So when we're at home, as we've seen in the case of Italy, we see massive growth in all digital channels. So that includes both social media, as we mentioned, with Instagram, and we see huge traffic that goes into Instagram stories. We see a huge traffic in Instagram, that about 2/3 of Instagram monthly active users are now visiting Instagram more than once a day. So a lot of activity on social media. In particular, that might be also a good opportunity to go into TikTok, as many destinations are not yet into TikTok. And TikTok at the moment is actually very interesting, is the only application at the moment that has more downloads than Zoom, the application we're using now for this video conferencing. But also other more traditional digital channels, which include online PR, so stories in online newspapers and online news agencies, or things such even as newsletters could be very well. Also, the world of podcasts is on the rise, so we can have a podcast, launch podcasts, or work with influencers who own podcasts and communicate with them. And lastly, YouTube marketing. We see hotels, for example, that are now sharing online yoga classes on their YouTube channel from their hotel, or cooking classes with their chef, or even cocktail making advices, either on Facebook Live or their YouTube, because people are now watching more videos than ever. So that's also a very effective channel. So pretty much go digital 360, wherever you can go, there's more traffic and there's less advertising, less competition, and that's the place where we should be at the moment.
We have someone that's trying to raise her hand. Sorry, it's my first time in this format. 1 second. Anna?
Yes.
You can ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, and I hope everyone is doing well and their families. Question. What are the chances? I mean, I wrote in the chat as well. If the government helps the Israeli airline El Al separate, I mean, take out some seats so we have separation, and the government can subsidize the seat, let's say the middle seat that they take out, until the confidence is up and running and we have a vaccine. This will really boost. I think that the other airlines will follow, those that remain in business, they will follow. And I think Israel can benefit a lot. I deal only with the Christian market, and they are the first ones to go after every disaster in Israel. I'm talking about the intifadas and all that stuff. So I really think that's a good, will be excellent for El Al and the country, the tourism.
I'm sure that El Al are considering this solution and other solutions. However, we need to remember that the COVID-19 is a highly infectious pandemic, and even if you remove the middle seat, I'm not sure it provides a full answer to the issue of social distancing, and we'll have to wait for the airlines to come up with the solution. Again, as we said at the moment, most airlines have canceled their flights and grounded their airplanes, not only because people are not ready to board the flight, but also because countries are not willing to accept foreigners at the moment. So it's a very dynamic situation. We'll have to see how things will evolve. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. I would say that currently, right now, the entire government is dealing with this crisis, and we are evaluating everything as we go. So it's a bit early. Everything is being taken in consideration. In Hebrew, we have a famous phrase that the prophecy has been given to the fools. So it's still early to decide when it is going to be end. But we can tell you that we are doing everything, and the entire government actually is doing everything that within its power to minimize the time for the crisis to last, and for sure to assist to the industry, to the tourism industry, as it is such a significant economic engine growth to Israel. So I would pass the torch right now to Itai Green, that will share with us why it's so important to use technology in order to better the business, and why and how technology can help us through this time and in general. So Itai, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Gal and Sharon. Hi, everyone. Today we're going to speak about innovation, and it is that important as either you innovate now or die later. So a little bit about myself, 15 years of experience as a startupist. I was heading the innovation activity of Amadeus in Israel. I was launching Innovate Israel in order to support corporations in any vertical to adopt innovation that comes from startups, and also launched a community of 400 Israeli travel tech entrepreneurs, and we'll talk about it later on. So of course you all know what's in common between BlackBerry and Blockbuster and Agfa and Kodak and Nokia and Yahoo and MySpace. They've all been disrupted. And you want to be like Netflix and like Amazon, not like the previous brands. And one of the things is that there is an arrogance of success in corporations that make them think that what they did yesterday is going to be enough for tomorrow. And if there is one thing I want you to take out of my presentation, is that what used to work for you before COVID-19 is not going to be enough for the future. And the reason for that is the technological change. I mean, things are moving really fast. And if it took 75 years for the telephone of Graham Bell to reach 50 million users, nowadays it takes maybe a few weeks for a good game or an app to reach 50 million users. And it is all thanks to the fact that technology enables today what we couldn't do before. All these 4 brands were not here with us till recently, and they are now leading the category and disrupted their industry, all of them: Uber, Facebook, Alibaba, and Airbnb. And it's not only that, technology also brings new competitors into the industry. Alibaba are in the hotel business, Alibaba are in the car business, and Amazon are in the insurance business. And it is, again, all thanks to technology. Technology allows that, enables that. And the thing is that open innovation is that the understanding that it's a deep understanding that it doesn't matter how smart are your people. The smartest people are not working for you. It's a matter of statistic. The smartest people, most of them, are working always for someone else. And in many cases, they're working in the academy, in other companies, and in startups. So if that's the case, let's collaborate with them. Let's partner with these others, with these smart people. And that's the basic thing of open innovation, the partnership. And open innovation, working with third parties, not relying only on internal innovation, not relying only on our internal R&D department, is the best way to innovate. It's the lowest risk, it's the greatest ROI, if you do it right. What's in common to all of these brands you might know? All these brands are Israeli startups that grew to unicorns. And what's in common between all these brands, and in total it's 536 multinationals that are constantly looking for innovation in Israel. They're constantly looking for the next ways, for the next Fiverr, for the next checkpoint. And they have a good reason for that. They know that if they're going to miss, they might disappear. So it's super important for them to scout constantly for the next big thing. And that's why they come to Israel. And when you use innovation, when you integrate new technologies, that's the best way actually to improve quality, speed, efficiency, and also to reduce cost. And by the way, also to increase revenues. It is all thanks to new technologies, which enables that. And in Israel, you have many startups. Actually, you have one startup per less than 1,400 Israelis. Just an equivalent in Europe is 20K. And there's a lot of available funds. And even Booking.com have started their R&D department in Israel. And it's actually the only R&D headquarter outside the Netherlands. They have a good reason for that. So what all these corporations are doing, they leverage the Israeli innovation in order to develop significant competitive value. And it's super, super important even today, when we think about the post-COVID-19, you have to integrate more and more technologies in order to have a significant competitive value comparing to your competitors. So that's the best time now, when there are not that many revenues, if any, that's the best time to innovate. And you know, the innovation is the highest motivation is normally really to develop the core capabilities, but not only, as you can see here. And the main challenge is to bridge between the corporate culture and the startup culture. And actually, there's a lot of know-how with this respect. And in this presentation, I'm going to give you practical tips how to really overcome this challenge of different cultures between corporate that is really looking into innovation and startup that in most cases, actually in all cases, are much faster and much more motivated than corporation. This is a little bit about the ecosystem in Israel. We have almost 7,000 startups, endless number of foreign delegations, many professional investors, hundreds of accelerators, really good public universities, and again, really hundreds of multinationals that are constantly looking for innovation. And if you're looking for different type of innovation for your business, you might Google, in this example, you Google cyber map, ecosystem map, and that's what you get. You get the leading startups in the cyber domain. And if you Google for IoT, that's what you get. That's for fintech, that's for insurance, that's for retail, that's for deep tech. This is for AI, artificial intelligence. Look how many startups, Israeli startups, are in this specific domain, and many of them are super relevant for the travel industry. And these are the startups, the leading startups of the leading travel tech startups in Israel that are super relevant to our business of travel. So what these startups are looking for when they're looking to engage with you, they're looking for a POC. You are professionals in the industry, and they have really great motivation, and they are very smart, and they want to integrate, to test their technology on your platform. So this is your opportunity. You can get their technology for relatively low cost, and it's going to create a huge impact on your business. I was recently writing an article that was published in Innovation Management blog with 10 practical tips for corporate open innovation with startups, for corporates like you that wants to engage with startups, either local in your country or Israelis or any other. So I will, with your respect, I will go over it really fast. So the first one is to create a commitment of the C-level, of the top management, of the board. And in many cases, the board are not really into it. And this is super, super important to change. And this is something you could do tomorrow. There is a lack of knowledge of what innovation is, what the value of that. And if the board and the top management are not aware of the values of innovation, you are in deep trouble. And in order not to be in deep trouble, the main and the first thing to do is to have innovation professionals in your board, in your management. Talk to people that are professionals in innovation and in technology. It would create a huge change. Suddenly all the discussions are going to be different, totally different. You'll see the impact really fast. I can tell you that companies with board member that is specified with technology and innovation see higher profits, see higher revenues, see higher growth. And this is not something that I say, it is something that is based on MIT study. And you know, another thing is to create a diversity in the board, in the management. You know what, the average age of board members in the S&P 500, the average age of a board member is 60. That cannot be the case. You have to bring young people to the board, young people to the top management. And I can tell you that in Israel, it is mandatory by law in governmental companies that 20% of the board members are below the age of 40. And I think this is something that is really simple to change in your company. The second tip is to have a single point of access for innovation. Startups are eager to work with you, but they need to know who is the one to speak with. The third tip is to set the challenges and share it. Share it with the ecosystem. You know your business. You know what are the unmet needs. You know what are the pains. You know what are your challenges. Share it. Share the challenges with the ecosystem, with others. Once you share it, you will get solutions. This is super important. The fourth tip is to have people in your company only of the type of people of FOMO. FOMO are those people with the fear of missing out. These are the people that are always curious what's new. Unlike other people, which are the NIH, those with the ego that motivates them, not invented here. This is what the NIH stands for. And these are the people that risk your business, NIH type. You see many of them in R&D departments. The fifth tip is to speak the startup lingo, which means keep your mind open. Be available for the startups 24/7. Speak with the startup in their language and really fast because they're looking for that. The sixth tip is to treat startups as partners with respect, not as suppliers. Treat them as partners. Pay them on time. The next tip is to tell the startups whether you have budget or not for integration. I mean, if you don't have, it's a waste of time. By the way, it's a relatively slow budget. The budget is small, the impact is huge. And you'll wait a few minutes. I prepare you with some really good things that even are not going to cost you a lot of money, if any. So it's worth waiting. The next tip is really to run as many POCs as possible. Now it's the best time to integrate as many technologies as possible. That's the time. I mean, you're not concentrating on business because there's no business. That's the time to get your business prepared with new technologies in order to surprise your competitors. And of course, if you want equity with startups, then you need to pay for that. And the last tip is to minimize bureaucracy. Move fast, especially these days. And I can tell you, many corporations in the travel industry are moving super fast these days with startups. It might be a surprise, but it's not, because the smartest corporations understand that this is the best time to integrate startup, to integrate new technologies. And you know, there are two types of employees. I mean, all of them are now sitting at home, but there are two types of employees, that those that are working from day to night with the Zoom, and the other one that watch Netflix. Hopefully you are from the Zoom people, and corporations that are working these days, and Zoom is just a metaphor, they will succeed in the days after the Corona. I will tell you now a little bit about the community, which is a very strong community of travel technology entrepreneurs in Israel. It's called ITTS. It's managed by a guy named Michael Ben Aaron. And you can follow this community. And in a minute, I'm going to share with you a few startups that will provide you with a significant value, either now or for the day after the COVID-19. So you can follow us on the Facebook, on LinkedIn, on website, and I can tell you many startups, Israeli startups, are winning competitions around the world. So the technology is really strong, and the community has a real recognition. It's a really good one. They won the visa contest, they won the UNWTO contest, and the startups are raising significant amount of money. And we have many partners from all around the world. These are just a few examples of brands from around the world that are collaborating with our community. Unfortunately, I don't see here any from Canada, but hopefully we're going to have one at least after this presentation. So now I'm going to share with you a few startups that will provide you with real value. And I will talk about each of them for really few seconds, but at the end of the presentation, you're more than welcome to message me. You'll have my contact information, and I will share with you the presentation so you'll be able to read it deeply and to get overview on the startups. And on each and every slide, there is a contact info of the startup entrepreneur, and you can contact him or her directly, and you don't need to speak with me at all. I mean, just speak with the entrepreneurs, and I promise you they will treat you very well. So the first one is Provo, which is a hotel post-booking profit optimization, which is a great tool for OTAs. The next one is HotelMice, which boosting tour operators and OTAs profit margin thanks to technology of artificial intelligence. And as you could see on the previous slide, on Provo, they are committed now for 0% commission and no setup fee, and all the other startups are also offering you really great offers, so you cannot really refuse. The next one is Wizar. They double actually the profits for travel agencies on air tickets, and air, travel agents are not doing that much money on airfares, and with this technology they can double your profits. So these are really smart people. I highly recommend. Again, you can see here they offer you 0% commission for 2020. The next one is Save a Train, which is a platform. It's a technology that allows you to book train tickets really easily. And again, you get it here for free for the first 3 months. The next technology is Gamity, which is a great tool for social group booking. And by the way, after COVID-19, people are gonna book together, either a wife and a husband or friends. They're gonna book, and before they book, they would like to get an advice from their friends or their family relatives. So this technology allows your clients to communicate one with the other. And again, they offer you this for free. The next one is Travaxi. They offer a booking platform and an API for travelers with disability and also for senior travelers. This is a super important segment. And if you know how to deal with this segment, you'll get new revenues. And again, you can see here, they offer it for 0 commission for this year of 2020. The next one is Bridgify. Bridgify is a full personalized trip plan. And this is one, and the other one is Trip Expert, which also offer a mass production of personalized itineraries. The next one is Who's Your Guest? Who's Your Guest? They collect guest rating. I mean, it's hotels that rate the guests. It's like TripAdvisor, but the other side, other way around. Wishbox, it's a guest experience management platform. And how was it? Is a customer experience automation. It's much more than regular AI or chatbot. It's a lot more. And again, they offer it for free for this year. The next thing is Fixel, which is an AI-based segmentation solution for paid advertising. The previous speaker was speaking about advertising on social networks. With Fixel, you'll be able to make it super efficient. And I will conclude again. This time, the next few weeks, hopefully short time, but this time is the best time to prepare surprise for your competitors. And the more technology oriented you're going to be, the more digitalized, the more clients you'll have, and the more efficient you're going to be after this COVID-19 crisis. You are more than welcome to message me. I promise to get back to you within really short time, like hours, and happy to share the presentation. So, I mean, feel free to message and I will share the presentation. I'll also put you in touch with those startups, Israeli startups, that can help you with your challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Itai, for this interesting information, and I think that everyone will find it very relevant for him. It's, as we said, it's crazy times. Actually, in Canada, yesterday they updated that you can't do gatherings of more than 5 people. And because I have 4 kids, so yesterday we dismissed one of them and we disqualified him. So it's crazy times. So this is, we can plan, and we are trying to plan as much as we can, but it's still early. But what we can do take in consideration the future, what the future is going to look like. Our goal here was basically to provide with you some thoughts and ideas about how the world post the corona will be, and beside that, about how technology can leverage you in order to prepare yourself for this world. I just see, just a second, there is a question here. So again, unfortunately, it's still too early, and I guess that the majority of you knows and are familiar with the current political situation in Israel, we are waiting keenly in order for the formulation of a government, and so we are waiting for that. But at the same time, we do work globally with all of our directors abroad to fully understand what's the main challenges are, and how we will support the tourism. We just, 2019 was our best year in history with over 4.5 million tourists. So our main goal is, again, to bring those tourists to choose Israel as their destination. Beside the corona, nothing has changed. Israel still is a great destination. You have the best iconic religious sites. You have the amazing Dead Sea. You have the non-stop city of Tel Aviv, the holy city of Jerusalem. Everything is still there. The only question is when we can promote them again. And yes, everything is being taken in consideration. We will support and we will be there tomorrow, and we're here today. So if you have any initiative and creative ideas about how we can assist you in those times in specific, we are here to help. I want to thank again for our speakers, Itai Green and Eran Ketter, who left. To thank all of you for taking the time, and it's global. So some of you, good morning. As Jim Carrey said in his oh yes, and of course we will upload the video and the presentations afterwards to our website. So as Jim Carrey used to say, good morning, good afternoon, and good night to all of you. Thank you very much from us in the Israeli Ministry of Tourism. We wish you stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.